Hey everybody! Today's video we are going to talk about whether to hire a doula or not. If you are coming up close on your birth and you're thinking about hiring a doula, I want to encourage you, yes, do it. We had a doula with both of our births and it was this great success both times, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about that today. With the birth of our first daughter, we decided to have a doula. And it was probably actually one of the best decisions that I made with that birth because it worked out so great. And we also had a doula with our second daughter, and I'll share a little bit about that as well. But I wanted to kind of share my stories and experiences with the two doulas we had. So as I said, with the first, we hired a doula. Our doula had 8 children, 7 of which she had at home, and so I was like, okay, this lady's legit. Like, she knows what's up. And she did on a whole lot of levels. I had been laboring since about 6 a.m. We called her around 2 and she came over, and really just for the couple hours, we didn't leave until about 5:30 to go to the birth center. So for about 2 to 3 hours, we just kind of sat in the front room and we counted contractions. She kind of gave my husband some tips on massage, and she also kind of, just tended to me, basically. And so it was nice because it was one other person who was just really there, focused on me. When we checked into the birth center, the midwives who were going to be attending my birth were there, but they were more in the background. And they had told me that was going to be what was happening. So it was my husband and my midwife and myself. And my parents actually came a little bit later, but in the early stages it was just the 3 of us. And it was nice because there wasn't ever a point where I felt alone. So if Steve had to go make a phone call or shoot a text off or go to the bathroom and it was during a contraction, I didn't feel like I was left alone. Had she not have been there, he would have had to have held it for about 3 hours or however long, because I wouldn't have let him leave. She was there all through the pushing, and then the baby was born, and as soon as I was safely on the bed and taken care of and the midwives were tending to me, she stayed for a little longer and then she left. Now with the second birth, it happened really quickly, and we had a great gal who I was really excited to have this experience with, but things happened so quickly. Very quickly, in fact. We have a story about that if you're interested. We'll pop a card up here, you can watch it. But things happened really quickly, and so by the time she showed up, I was in the bathroom on the floor pushing. But she, you know what, she didn't miss a beat. She jumped in right behind me, she got on the tub, she propped me up, she held me, she kept my hair out of my face, she just touched my head and she encouraged me. She told me I was doing a really good job, and just she was just right there. Well, meanwhile, my husband wasn't really able to shout those encouragements or give me the kind of encouragement because he was busy catching our baby. So it was really nice to have her as well. She came to the hospital. Steve and the baby and I all rode in the ambulance to the hospital because we had to call 911. And then my mom and the doula rode over. I think they came in 2 separate cars, but anyway, she was there as well. And it was really nice because she was there by the bedside, hovering basically with me. Meanwhile, Steve was with the baby across the room while they were doing some tests because I told him, you go with that baby. And so I had the doula and I had my mom, which was great. So I had my little team with me, because after you have a baby, you're kind of just so it was nice to have someone, especially in the hospital environment. It was nice to have somebody there. So those are the 2 experiences that I had, and I would pay the money all over again if I had to. It was well worth it, in my opinion, to have those amazing ladies with me as I went through those experiences. So that brings me to my top 3 reasons why I think you should hire a doula. So number 1 is experience. Now, this could also be your second or your third birth, and then you can go ahead and maybe just listen, but then point number 2 and 3 will probably be more for you. But experience, especially if this is your first baby and your first time having a baby, it's nice to have somebody with you who's experienced and who's also not emotionally connected with you. I had my mom with me, which was amazing. It was incredible to have her in my corner. She was there, she was praying, she was calling out encouragements, which was tremendous. However, after the birth of my first, she told me that it was really intense for her too. And now as a mom, I can imagine it. This is your baby and you can't help them. I mean, there's really nothing you can do other than just be present for them. So a lot of times it's important for moms to be there if you have that kind of relationship with your mom. But it's also nice to maybe take that expectation off of them, that there's somebody else who will also be the experienced person in the room. Now, if you find a doula, hopefully this person is going to be someone who has had children of her own or who has witnessed multiple births. Our first doula, like I said, she had 8 children, amazing woman, and she had been a doula for some years, and so she had witnessed, I forget how many, but I know I think it was over 20. So what I was going through was A, no mystery to her because she'd done it herself, but B, she'd also watched other women go through it. So it was like, okay, this contraction feels like this. And she's like, okay, that's normal. This is what's happening. And she was able to kind of explain things while I was still lucid enough to understand stuff. But it was nice to have someone who was experienced and who was helping me understand that the process that I was going through, it was normal. And another big part of this is, when do I go to the hospital or the birth center or wherever I'm going to be having this baby? When do I go? Because I think we've all heard that if you go to the hospital too soon, they will either tell you to turn around and go home, frustrating, or they'll check you in and then you're on their clock. So it's kind of a little bit of a dance. When do I go to the hospital? And having a doula who's worth her salt is going to be able to say, let's wait just a little bit longer. Can you give me 5 more contractions at home and then we'll go? Because having that experience, whereas with my first, I'm like, I just had a contraction. Is it time? Is it time to go? Is it time to have the baby? Is the baby going to come out right now? It feels like it. No? Okay. So it was nice to have somebody who was encouraging me, who knew what she was doing. Okay, reason number 2 why I think you should hire a doula is, and I actually touched a little bit about this just a moment ago, but having someone there who is specifically there for you. And to some degree your partner, but mostly for you. And that comes in handy, especially when it's time for your husband who is hungry, or he wants to get a snack, or he needs to go to the bathroom, or he needs to make a phone call, like I mentioned. It's nice because there is this person who is there just for you. Someone that you can meet with ahead of time and that you develop a little bit of a relationship with, and you say, look, encouragement is really helpful for me. So, like, as an example, I'm a words of encouragement kind of person. And so when my doula with the first birth was, actually with both births, both ladies did this, they told me, there was just a little bit of the gentle touch, knowing that I'm not alone. They were saying, you're doing a great job, you're doing amazing, you're almost there, you're so close. Don't forget, take a deep breath. Just these encouragements that I needed, and it was just like having my own little person. I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't know about your husband, but my husband didn't go to, any of his buddies' wives' births. But us ladies, I know quite a few women who attended the birth of a really close friend or a sister or someone in their life. It's like, I personally witnessed a birth when I was right out of high school. A friend of mine had a baby and I was there for the whole thing, and then showed up at the hospital a few minutes after the birth of another friend's baby. So hospitals and birth and all that wasn't a huge mystery. I mean, I had seen it, and I had friends with kids and had asked questions about it, and it wasn't like this complete mystery. But for our husbands and for our men, it is. It's a giant, freaky, creepy kind of mystery. Like, it's this biology thing happening here. I can't fix it. What do I do? Am I supposed to be down at the bottom? Am I supposed to be where do I go? So it's nice to have that person who is grounded, because your husband may or may not be. Reason number 3 why I think you should hire a doula is, no matter where you choose to birth, whether it's a hospital or a birthing center, but especially a hospital, a doula who has experience is going to be able to help you and your husband interface with the medical professionals around you. Now, that's not to say that the doctors aren't going to come to you and ask questions about how you want things to be. However, if the nurse comes in and just has a question or whatever, a lot of times your doula is going to be able to help in that regard. or if there's a stressful situation, which hopefully won't ever happen, but if there's a stressful situation, sometimes it's helpful to have someone who is not emotionally intertwined with you to listen as well. So if there's a decision that needs to be made, you, your husband, and your doula can kind of all sit down and talk with the doctor or talk with the midwife, and here's what's happening. Okay, so your doula is on your team, and they're going to be able to say, can we have a few minutes, let us talk to mom and dad, and then they're going to have some experience, they're going to have some wisdom to share, and just another person who's kind of, I guess we'll say, of their right mind. Like, they're not emotionally in it like you and your husband will be. So it's nice to have that person who's kind of interfacing. And also, for those of you who have family who may be a little bit up in your business, you'll have a doula who will also be able to help maybe handle those types of things, like make the phone calls or take the phone calls from that one family member who wants to FaceTime incessantly, or, I don't know, whatever. They are there to be helpful for you, and they are there to support you like your mom and your best friend and your medical professional all wrapped into one. I wanted to share with you really quick about what Merriam-Webster says the definition of a doula is, but before I do that, I didn't want to forget, if you like the video, please click like, and we would also be honored if you would consider becoming a subscriber. That way you get emails and notifications when we post new videos, which is every week. Back to Merriam-Webster, the medical definition of a doula is a woman experienced in childbirth who provides advice, information, emotional support, and that's huge, mamas, and physical comfort, which is also huge, to a mother before, during, and just after childbirth. This is big. A doula is not going to take the place your mom or your husband or your doctor or your midwife or whatever. That's not the point. They're not meant to replace anybody. It's literally just meant to be, having a doula with you is meant to be just one more layer of comfort for you during this experience, which will be intense. Totally doable, but it'll be intense, and it's just like having that one person who's just with you the entire time. So that is why I think you should hire a doula. It is a worthy financial investment. That's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed our video. Hope to see you next week. If you want more KT files, we're on Facebook and we have a blog, so you can check us out. And hope you guys are having a great day. Talk to you later.